Thank you. So now it's my turn. I'll present this project, and I'm getting a bit worried that people have a interview tiredness after all the interviews and surveys we have heard projects are going to do, but I'll tell you about my activities in a minute. So the topic of, or the community that we are reaching with this project is the arts and the humanities, and I'll tell you a bit about this community in a second. So our aim is to engage with this community. And I don't know if you are familiar with the community, but it's very broad and is funded mostly by the Arts and Humanities Research Council, but it includes fields such as history, culture, some of what we were seeing in the previous presentation, archaeology, but as well as performance and art and literature, right? So you have this kind of broad set of scholars. And something that is peculiar with the community that is broad, and so it not only touches researchers in higher education institutions, but also in what the HRC talks about independent research organizations. And I don't know if anybody has heard ever of the term GLAMs. GLAMs. Has anybody heard GLAMs? Yeah, so the galleries, the libraries, the archives, and the museums. And these are really interesting organizations because they sit on lots of data. This is why I was asking my question, sorry, before to you, because when we talk about large-scale data, these organizations can quickly, show us an archive that has lots of really interesting data around culture, but culture that is from contemporary culture today, right? So many museums collect still things today to archaeological data, which goes millions, thousands, millions of years. So really ancient stuff. So really interesting kind of data set here to explore, and indeed the community is very heterogeneous. So some of them have access to infrastructures and have the skills to be able to leverage this infrastructure, while we find, some people don't really kind of get into what AI might be helpful for when they have their everyday day-to-day problem, which is just to look after this data. So in this case, we want to engage with these communities within and outside the higher education institution and support the development of the roadmap for federation. Okay, so the team is composed from 2 universities. So we are, in the one hand, leveraging King's College London long history in supporting arts and humanities research infrastructures. They used to host data services, again, supporting researchers, but they also have really interesting infrastructures they provide within the institution for researchers. So we collaborate with KDL, King's Digital Lab. And Brighton, in Brighton, we have a long history of the researching in this computing. My background is computer science, right? So I have collaborated for a very long time, over 20 years, with cultural heritage institutions and researchers in arts and humanities. But also we have different piloting and activities funded by the Arts and Humanities Research Council, and they call it the IDA infrastructure. And indeed, we have piloted training and we have piloted other activities. We will be presenting 2 projects tomorrow as well about the DISCA project that will give us insight into these user journeys and user stories. Okay, a bit of context what we did before. So I think in this context, we look at, again, as I said, building on a lot of different activities we have done, research and insight we have into the community. As they mentioned before, we know the community maybe is underrepresented, but we know it's really interesting to look at and bring to the kind of same level to join the conversation, because their data sets, their problems are I'm sure that they touch similarities with other ones in other disciplines. So an interesting, again, challenge is that we saw this example before about the telescope, and I always put this example to the research in the humanities, that sometimes if you have used an instrument and the instrument gives you data, and you can reproduce the experiment or reproduce the question with the same data, you get this reproducible research. And I think humanities are very, very strongly, and they will agree, I hope, that their work is not always reproducible because it's interpretation driven. So some opportunities, again, given the data heaviness, some opportunities are around AI workflows. So this is what I was suggesting before. We're also going to do a survey. And at this stage, I worry about all our colleagues, researchers, receiving so many requests for surveys. So what we are doing here is really looking at user stories and workflows and skill gaps and opportunities. I think what I will say here to add to what we have, or people have said before, is that what we are going to try to do is leverage existing communities and existing events in the next year. So we know, for instance, there are some events that are run by associations. So there is a very strong digital humanities community within this discipline, and they organize events. There is one very linked to UK Ireland Association, in which they are very close together in doing an annual event that brings those two communities. So we think we might be able to target these events as well as events which are focused on delivering digital skills like research software engineering for digital humanities. Again, we had a very good collaboration this year with the summer school. We'll repeat this next year and introduce some of the workshops and events within this community to be more targeted as to where we reach the beneficiaries or the people we want to reach. And okay, second is just to collect the feedback and feed into the to the roadmap. So here I give you a bit of an overview. We have just started in September, so we will proceed at the very beginning to not launch a survey without going through the ethics process. So we'll be looking at the design. I will be very keen to speak to the other people doing surveys, so to kind of ask the same questions, right? I think there is something here about coordinating what we want to add to the conversation, but not repeat again what we are trying to gather information. And then we'll launch the survey, go through this period. But then, as I said, the really interesting part for us is this engagement with users. And we think there will be some engagement about digging user stories, but maybe there will be some engagement about testing or training prototypes of what federated, environments the prototype might look like for these communities. And along the line, we'll be coordinating with the other projects and with the main project. And I think that's it. I don't think I have anything else to add. Okay, thank you very much.